From the beautiful Finger Lakes region of upstate New York, this is the Dental Lighthouse Podcast. We take questions from anyone in the dental profession and discuss what it takes to win not only in dentistry, but in life. Business, leadership, relationships, parenting, health and wellness, money management, nothing is off limits on the Dental Lighthouse Podcast. I'm Jason Tenori, your host, and have over 20 years of experience to pull from. Learn from my mistakes and let me help you collapse time so you can become the best version of yourself. Yo, welcome back. Dr. Jason here, Dental Lighthouse Podcast. Super excited about the recording today because it's not just me rambling and giving these musings of what's going on in my own head, but I'm really, really excited to do an interview for you guys today. And the people that I'm talking about are good friends of mine, people that I have known for a long, long time, share this very similar value system to me. And I just think that you're going to get a lot of wisdom, a lot of value from this recording. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Doug and Phil from Moorhead Dentistry, a multi-location group out of the Southwest Cincinnati, Ohio area. So Doug, Phil, welcome to the program.
Thanks. It's great to be here. Thanks for having us. I'm excited to be a part of it.
Awesome. Well, I'm glad you're excited because you're not as excited as I am because I'm really excited. So in an effort to kind of provide some context for the listeners so they understand kind of what rabbit holes we're going to go down, Doug, you're a dentist, you're the owner, you're the founder. Why don't you give us a little bit of your background onto how we got here, and then we'll turn it over to Phil, who's the Director of Operations or Chief Operations Officer. You can tell us what your title is, Phil, and we'll go from there. So go ahead, Doug.
Yeah, thank you. My name is Doug Moorhead, and like Jason said, I'm a general dentist in Cincinnati, Ohio area. I kind of grew up around here and settled back in here in this area after dental school. I've got 4 kids, 11, 9, 7, and 6. So 3 boys and a girl. So we have a very busy life at home, and it's just a lot of fun times in raising their kids. As far as the practice goes, I've been a dentist since 2010, and I bought my first practice in 2013, and it was just a real small practice in Blue Ash, Ohio, and then decided a few years into it that I really love doing mostly like the surgical aspect of dentistry. I got trained in IV sedation and doing surgery, and I had a vision of having some multiple locations so that I could have a bigger patient base to be able to specialize in some of these procedures. And around that time, I was friends with Phil and from church, and we got together. And he was kind of in the transition period, and we just felt like this was meant to be a partnership, meant to be. So I brought Phil on as the COO, and that's at that same time we bought another small practice out east of Cincinnati. And then a few years went by, and we started hiring associate dentists, and then opened or bought a third location up in north of Cincinnati in Lebanon, Ohio. So now where we stand, we have 2 practices one practice with 9 ops, 1 practice with 12 ops, and another one with 6. And the cool thing is I get to do a lot of what I love to do. And we have 6 associate dentists that work for us, and about 50 employees. And so awesome. I've been super blessed to have the partnership with Phil, and he does a really great job, like leading the leaders of our organization. And he's really allowed me to grow my business a lot, but also just, be able to serve a lot more people doing the things that I love to do. So early on, one of the things that we did together was we went to a seminar, popular seminar, business training seminar that Scott Luna was doing at the time. And it really kind of gave us a foundation for like how we're going to go about playbook for how we're going to get started and run some of our practice. And so a lot of that framework still exists today. And yeah, so that's a little bit about me, and turn it over to Phil.
Yeah. So I'm Phil Michael. I'm the COO, but title doesn't matter. Like whatever needs to get done, I'm going to do it. So yeah, I have an engineer background. I have a degree in engineering, and I feel like I use that every single day with so much of this is systems based. So that's what attracted me to the training that we got, as Doug alluded to. But our time together was built on friendship. Some view that as something to stay away from. It's something that we've embraced in our families, our friends together, our kids and wives hang out. So it's worked really well. And it's been really great for us to sharpen one another and help build the business both during and after hours too, as we're hanging out. So it's been a great experience being able to my journey is kind of strange going from engineering to business to a degree. But I feel like I picked up skills all along the way, and those skills can be applied in the small business world. But the biggest, as Doug kind of alluded to, is leadership development. That's been really big, and that's what gets me most excited where we're at right now is we're developing leaders internally, building a strong leadership team, having a clear identity in who we are, what we're trying to be. And my hope is kind of my soapbox right now is I hope to never hire an office manager out of house. I hope that we're training up and coming leaders, that the next office manager is always being trained, whether they know it or not, or whether the opening exists or not in our practices.
And I love that. So I have so many questions, and most of them are selfishly to improve my own systems and operations. And because it's my podcast, I'm going to be okay with being selfish. So the first question I have is I've been very vocal about my personal struggles with leadership development, not necessarily the people that are directly that report to me or directly below me, for lack of a better term. I feel like because I interact with these people on a regular basis, I'm pretty good at operationalizing leadership development and growing them. But as we've grown, I've had a struggle with having those leaders lead their particular teams. So I'm just curious, Phil, based on what you alluded to, have you run across that pain point yet of, yes, you can lead, let's call it your OMs. I have no idea what your structure is, but you can lead and develop your OMs. And I'm sure you do a phenomenal job at it. But how good are they at leading and developing their teams? And have you figured out the best way to grow them in terms of the relationship that they have with the people that report to them?
Yeah, that's some of the secret sauce. If you're able to replicate leadership, that's a really exciting thing. And there's going to be success to varying degrees. I could go across the locations and the times for that to be the case. But there was a moment that I was able to look back to a couple years, 3 years ago, maybe, where I felt like we were having leadership meetings and I was coming out of the leadership meetings with 15 things to do. It's all on me to deliver this, get the fee right, get the insurance right. And now a light switch has flipped where the leaders are the ones taking on those tasks. And I leave a leadership meeting with 1 to 2 things. Most of it's just clarity that I need to give practice wide. So from a task standpoint, they've really begun to take ownership of what it looks like for them to see success and how their success funnels up into the success of the business. But you tie that in with people, and what does that look like to develop the next leaders when they know what success looks like within their practice? Then it just takes a little bit of a nudge and delegation, which is hard for me at times, to say, and it happened even this morning, hey, this is a conversation I can have, but why don't we talk about it for 10 minutes so you have all the narrative of what I might say, but I want you to build that relationship. I want you to be able to give the feedback and let that person know that you're going to give them accountability and call them up. And I think what happens as we call people up, you see the ones who aren't ready kind of get weeded out or quieted, muted. But the ones who are ready, they step up and say, that was fun. Is there more?
Yeah.
So that's really where we start to see that handoff happening and the replication happening. But it took here at the Blue Ash office, an office manager transitioning to retirement. We're able to celebrate her into retirement and have an internal application. There were 5 people, 3 of which probably surprised me. Hey, you think you're ready? And one of them really, a few of them actually really were. One of them really surprised me. And then 2 of them are like, oh, that's really great. This is the first time I feel like I'm hearing you want this. Let's put you on a development coaching plan, not an improvement plan, but development so that we can get you there.
I love that. Absolutely love that. Kind of a follow-up question to that. And Doug, Phil, whoever feels like they're best equipped to answer this. I feel it's human nature that we default to our skill set, right? And I've noticed in my own development of leaders that let's use office managers as an example. They're typically in that position traditionally because they're really good at what we'll call patient-facing tasks. They're really good at presenting treatment, at managing AR, at these types of things that they've always done, right? Where they're not good at, or what they're not good at, or where they need that training that you're alluding to, Phil, is in leadership, right? Is in having uncomfortable conversations and how to keep people accountable and managing expectations and stuff like that. So 2 questions. What percentage of and I know it's hard to answer this question, but just to put some objective data on this, because I'm also an engineer by training, so this is how I think. What percentage of your office manager's week would you suggest is dedicated to these patient-facing tasks versus the leadership of the team tasks? I mean, is there a clear delineation? Do your office managers do any patient-facing tasks? Like, where do you feel like that lands?
Yeah, my best guess off the cuff would probably be 70% patient tasks. Now, sometimes they're doing billing coordination, so they're not patient, but they're claims, so
Right.
still calling that. And then 30%. But what I do is prepare them. And when I check in weekly with them, I know the script is flipped with stress. 70% of their stress is probably going to be with the management, and 30% is going to be patient facing. So even though the time might be one way, I think the stress or the impact on them is a different way.
100% agree. And that's why I do find that their default is to bury their head in the sand. Not everyone, obviously, but bury their head in the sand and say, well, I'm going to work on filling the hygiene schedule, or I'm going to work on, follow-ups for these doctor treatment plans. So do you both feel like there's times where you have to remind them that, your primary responsibility in the seat that you're in is to grow your team versus, managing AR?
Good question for you.
Yeah. I would say that falls into like a sweet spot for me of just, I drive myself towards leadership. When there's an opportunity, I'm going to dive into it. So I'm kind of driven towards it, but can you remind me the question one more time?
Yeah, when I think it's easy for the OMs to default to what they are comfortable doing, like filling a hygiene schedule or following up on unscheduled treatment. So when I walk into an office, or when my operations person, Amy, who you both met, walks into an office, it's clear that maybe their priorities are not aligned with what we really need them to do. Maybe they're spending too much time, you said 70%, on those patient-facing tasks when they really need to be spending more time on that accountability, growing people, one-on-one conversations, into the storm types of conversations. So when you're observing that, are you just trying to kind of go into the storm or have an uncomfortable conversation with that office manager and just recalibrate them on what they really need to be doing to be successful?
Yeah, I'd say a couple approaches I have with it is we fell into this structure because we had one of our office managers put their notice in being like, I can't handle this all. I don't think I can do this anymore. And there was a panic like, oh no, you're wired for this, but what help do you need? We actually broke up the office manager role with the patient facing role. So our offices are big enough that a lot of times we have either a billing coordinator or a treatment coordinator role with the office manager hat. So at our 9 or 12 op locations, you're going to have office manager hat and either be a billing coordinator or a treatment coordinator.
Okay.
And so that allows me to use verbiage on like, hey, how's the office manager role going? Hey, here are your billing results. Great job. Way to own that. How is the team? How is your office management going? So we create some separation. So it's not one, just coagulation of, it's all together. But so much from the leader is driven in what questions are you asking? When I show up, do I say, days outstanding with AR? What's our average? Or do I say, hey, how's the team? Are the core values being lived out daily? What's rubbing you the wrong way as a leader? Where do you feel undersupported or underappreciated, either by us as the leadership or by your team? And that refines the question. Where I just had a check-in this morning, we didn't really talk practical much. We're like, oh yeah, a couple $100,000 that insurance needs to pay. We have a plan. We've engineered a system and we're just walking out the plan. But how's your team? And we spent 90% of the time talking about the staff and the pinch points and the core culture fits that are struggles right now.
Love it.
That's good.
Doug, to kind of put you on the spot, in a similar kind of scenario, whereas office managers, again, not in your practices, but nationally, just based on the coaching that I do, tend to default towards patient-facing tasks. You're a phenomenal surgeon. I know that we've talked in depth about the skill set that you have. Do you personally find there's more ease or just more joy from your particular situation in being at the chair and doing surgeries versus some of the, let's call them CEO or chief clinical officer responsibility, or even accountability conversation if one of your associates is delivering substandard care or substandard treatment plans? Like, where do you fall on that paradigm?
Yeah. I think my sweet spot, what I found that I love more than anything right now is the patient care aspect of it. So I dedicate 3 days a week to that, and then on the Thursdays is the day where I kind of rotate around and help the other associates as needed, whether I do sedation for them or introduce them to a new procedure that they haven't done before. So I'm really focused on kind of the clinical aspect of it, whether it's actually me seeing a patient or helping my younger associate dentists develop. So that's what I feel like I'm best, where my sweet spot is. I think I am the CEO. I do some leadership aspect of it, but I feel like I'm decent at delegating what needs to be done in that regard. So my leadership style has been, Phil, here's where I think we need to go. And, here, you already know our core values, what we're going for. Go for it. And so we've talked through some of the system of how, our accountability chart and things like that. And really I've just kind of been hands off, for the most part. I keep an eye on a lot of things, but Phil's really the one that's, talking to employees, taking the time to sit down with them and coach them, or just be there to listen to them and see how they're, check in with them. So I knew for me that for our business, that's what worked really well, to up until this point. There might be in the future, I might, be more CEO like, but for now, my body is feeling good. I'm able to work hard, and I feel like I can have the most impact on our, practice and community that way. So,
and I think I love to point out that Doug has leadership to the associate dentist. It's starting through clinical care. I sit down across from somebody and say, we're in a meeting now. He does it across, the chair with the patient in the chair, and mentors and coaches and gives feedback to the associates there. So it's both our leadership. It's just what is your approach and what's more comfortable? Sitting down one-on-one with the person or doing something side by side and coaching and mentoring as you go.
Yeah, such a great point, Phil. So I guess using the analogy, well, it wasn't really an analogy because it's something that you practice. When you go to an office manager, Phil, you try to be very clear about let's have a conversation about you as a leader versus let's have a conversation about you as a billing coordinator, right? I get that. And I think that's such a great way to delineate how the conversation is going to go. It's been my experience with associate dentists that it's a somewhat similar conversation. Let's have a conversation from a clinical mentorship perspective, right? Treatment planning. What is our standard of care? Are we calibrated across the organization? Versus, let's call them non-clinical things that we should be talking about. Are they a good core value fit? Are they treating the hygienists and assistants with the respect that they deserve? Based on what you just said, Doug, it's clear to me that you're growing these associates as clinicians. Who's growing them from a non-clinical perspective, from a be a good person perspective, or maybe identifying blind spots that they have with talking down to people or just that type of mentorship?
Yeah, Phil, in the past, Phil and the office manager have had a lot of those conversations with associates, and more recently, within the last year, we hired an HR director as well, and she can help a lot with those conversations. One of the things that's helped a lot in those conversations to have some sort of place to start from is what we've done with Culture Index, just kind of getting to know everybody's personality and tendencies, and then you can speak to people in a way that they understand or relate with. But to directly answer your question, it's mostly been the office manager and Phil and now the HR director.
It might be time in that way, but impact, I don't want to downplay. When Doug does have a conversation, it lands. And there
Yeah,
are
I don't
times
doubt it.
where I will come to him and say, can you speak doctor, please? Because here's the result that we're needing, whether it's how they're treating staff, patients, or otherwise. And when he has those conversations, they might be less frequent, but they are extremely powerful. And that's something I want you and the listeners to hear as well, that it's not delegate and forget. There are times where I need to lead up and say, hey, Doug, I need you as a resource to be able to call that out, because even major successes that we've seen, they don't refer to the 5 conversations I had. They refer to the one that Doug had.
Yeah. I have no doubt that that's extremely true. I check in with Amy daily, as I'm sure you guys connect on a regular basis. And she was just telling me earlier today of a conversation that her and the OM are having with an associate, where not from a clinical perspective, but from a respecting the rest of the team perspective, there's been a gap in expectations. And to your point, Phil, I ultimately said, do you want me to have this conversation? And Amy was like, I'm going to have it one more time, but if it doesn't land, then we'll bring in the hammer. And again, by hammer, I don't mean like I'm going to get on a soapbox and start yelling and screaming, because I know that Doug could never possibly do that. But you're right. Like, I think sometimes when the founder, the owner, has to have this conversation out of a position of love and curiosity and empathy, it just tends to sometimes land. And to your point, like if it gets abused, if Doug was the one that was having these conversations all the time, probably wouldn't carry as much weight as it does when he just comes in from time to time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You mentioned HR, which I want to go down a slightly different path. We have 2 people in our HR department, and currently looking for a third. And one of the mistakes that I personally made in scaling our own organization is waiting too long to bring on an HR lead, department, whatever you want to call it. The fact that you guys have 50 employees and you brought someone on, I think, is just a testament to how in tune you are with your own leadership. In your opinion, was this hire right on track with where you're at in terms of growth? Should you have done it sooner? Should you have done it? Could you have afforded to do it later? So I guess what I'm asking is some of these, let's call them C-suite positions for lack of a better term, where you get to a certain point and you start to realize that you're wearing too many hats. So what have you learned over the last few years of wow, we should have brought someone in sooner, or we should have considered breaking up this particular responsibility over a couple different people or anything like that?
Yeah.
I will say,
You
like,
start. Yeah.
yeah, like when I started seeing Phil's beard get like almost completely gray,
I had to shave it off. It's too old.
I knew that was about time for us to do something. It mostly came down to like I'm driving Phil crazy by having him do too much stuff, excuse me. And so I think that the answer would probably be we would have loved to have done it even sooner than what we did. And we actually, it's pretty difficult right now, but to hire some of the roles that we're looking at, we need to. But we just know that like we do have a framework now that we can, because of this HR person, that if we needed to grow or want to grow, we'll be able to do that much, much easier.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just, again, that was kind of how I judged it, is like, Phil, how you doing there, bud? So
yeah, Phil's beard color is a good barometer to dictate. But again, when he's as clean shaven as he is today,
right.
there's got to be some other internal metrics that you're currently looking at. What
Yeah.
A lot of people that have the entity the size that you guys have do centralize some things. Obviously, you centralize operations and HR. Is there anything else that you guys are currently centralizing to take off of the office manager's plate, or you just feel like there's value in centralizing it? Or what other, if any, what other seats, tasks do you currently have centralized?
One of the best parts of our practice that runs super well, has been great for us, is what we call a support center. And we've had it for a number of years now. And that's where we're actually sitting here right now in our support center, our central like location. And no one's here right now because a lot of them work from home, work remotely. But I could have Phil talk to you a little bit about like what our support center does for us, and kind of how we go about utilizing it to help. Basically, it's helping to make it so that when a patient is in the office, the people that are there can be mostly focused on them and not hopefully doing a million different things with the phone. So yes,
yeah. Thanks. So yeah, the support center, they run with insurance-based, the verifications, the full breakdowns, sorry, we have automatic lights here, so they're back on. Motion sensor. They run with really a lot of the things that are on the phones. So new patient calls that can be 2 minutes, 8 minutes, 18 minutes, the insurance wait times, that kind of thing. That's what they're running with, because our hope is to have the front office, like Doug was saying, as present with the patient as possible. And we've actually found that as a really great hiring tool when we're hiring the front office position, because I give the anecdote of patients standing, new patient, and others trying to check out and take the money. MetLife finally picks up the call from hold on an insurance breakdown. What do you do? And they just laugh because they know everything's the highest priority at the moment. So we take some of those really high priority and put specialists to it. So the phone call script, especially because we change what Doug does with frequency and what we offer at the practices, it's one script amongst a team of 4 to 5 people that we need to update, not 9 people across the locations that might be picking up the phone. So that centralization has helped a lot, and it helps us feel like one cohesive practice, not all these different pods that are strengths at this location and weaknesses at those.
So if I was a prospective new patient and I came across one of your phone numbers, I'm calling the Blue Ash office, my phone call would be answered by your centralized team?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Is there any situation where the phone rings at the actual practice location?
Yeah, great question. Because of where we are with the size and scope of the support center, we do have existing patient calls that are funneled to the office. So what we've kind of prioritized is if there's a new patient calling between the support center, and we don't need to deep dive the AI bot as backup, but we can. That's going to be the new patient call because we don't want that missed call rate to be super high. Now, if a patient's calling in with a question or they need to reschedule their appointment, we have email, we have text, we have voicemail that we can, if we miss that call because we're present with the patient, we'll go back to them and we're probably not losing a patient over that the way that we would with a new patient call.
So when I call as a prospective new patient, is there a phone tree to delineate? There is. Okay. And it's simple, as simple as, are you a new patient or are you not?
Yep. Yeah, it's that simple. We also do work with Medicaid here. So there is a prompt, hey, if you have Medicaid, and it sends them to, so much of that is automated with an online system for us. So it gives them kind of a rundown of what our policies are so as to keep call volume appropriate.
Awesome. Again, I'm sorry if I'm asking questions that are random, but we share so many similarities in terms of history of growth and stuff. Just things that have been unsuccessful for me, and obviously are successful for you. I'm just trying to wrap my head around, how I failed and what should I have done differently. So pivoting, one of the things that we've realized in an associate-driven model is, and again, I'm not suggesting that this is true, but it's true for us, is you need a specific office size in order to be profitable. That's what we have found. And the one doctor, two hygiene model can work, but if that doctor's sick or if that doctor wants to take vacation, it's really tough to continue to have that office going. So the 9 and the 12 operatory practice, I'm assuming that there's 2 doctors in those offices. But the 6 operatory one, I would think that you maybe have a little bit of a facility capacity struggle. And perhaps if that doctor's sick or takes time off, maybe that office isn't as profitable that particular month. Just speaking from my own lived experience. So is that in fact true with you guys? And if it is there a strategy in place to try to deal with that?
Well, that's a great question that we've been for the last couple months trying to wrap our head around what's the next step.
Yeah.
But you're
true. What do we do?
Yeah.
This is where you come in. You're the one that tells us what to do.
Well, I've made every single mistake as we've shared when we were working together.
We started out the one where we have the 6 operatory practices, the first practice that I bought, and it's in a little house basically. And we did an addition and added a couple extra rooms. But once we kind of found, like you said, what's profitable, what our identity is, we would not do it the same way again, for sure. So the Batavia office was the first one where we had 9 operatories, and we were able to get 2 associates in there. And then I would come in on the day that one of them's not there, and I would do some of the specialty things, and that worked out just very, very well. And so the next practice that we got, we bought it as 3 operatories, but we ended up building it into 9 in a suite next door. And so both of those are pretty well humming along, and just now, and in one of your examples, we have a doctor in maternity leave at one of our locations, and because we have another doctor there, it's still able to function, still able to be going. And so anyway, with the 6 operatory practice, we're kind of trying to figure out what's the next step. We may be able to build onto it a little bit and add 3 more ops. We actually have some plans to do that, or some drawings. Um, but yeah, like once we found out what our kind of like our formula is, that's all we're really interested in doing now, in like future practices. But it kind of took some, time and figuring out what works, in order to make that, to know what works well for us.
Yeah. And something we can report back on is, in general, we've built first and then hired into the infrastructure. It seems like right now the momentum here at this location is that we might leverage the 6 and get the staffing first, lean into efficiencies with scheduling and usage of staff before we do the investment in the infrastructure of the building itself.
Yeah, that makes total sense. And like we were talking about before we hit record, if we wanted to share with the listeners, not necessarily failures, but things that we've done in the past that we have learned from that we are going to kind of pivot on in the future. I think, Doug, you said it beautifully of like, you didn't know, right? Like a 5-6 operatory, one doctor practice, like you're like, yeah, this will be successful. And until you actually experience it, until, you run into an obstacle like the doctor being sick or going on maternity leave or what have you. So, and then we were the same way. Like I had a flagship office that was very large and it was hard to run because of its size. So 15 years ago, when we opened up our second location, I was like, okay, that's it. Every office is going to be 5 operatories, 1 doctor, 2 hygienists, 2 assistants, and it's going to be so simple to run. And they were simple to run. They just didn't make any money when, you had some of these obstacles to deal with. So, we've learned from that experience, and I wouldn't have learned from it unless I went through it. So moving forward, or since that particular time moving forward, we have minimum operatory, criteria. We have minimum staffing criteria. And by doing that, it's just been so much more predictable, for everything and everybody involved.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Something we found too, this could probably be its own topic of podcast, is diversification and like mitigating risk by doing different things that balance. When we have 2 providers in one location, you can actually get a greater whole by having 2 different people doing clinical work on a daily. So if one person doesn't want to do ortho, the other might. Endo, that's the same way. Oral surgery lean, one maybe can handle higher hygiene exam counts than others. That's something that we see a benefit when we are able to diversify with the number of dentists that we have and their skill sets, as opposed to just all eggs in one basket. You talked attendance, but also their skill set is a limitation.
Yeah, so true. So true. Having 2 doctors in the same practice that all they really want to do is single unit crowns and quadrants of resins, doesn't tend to be nearly as successful as having a restorative based doc and a surgical based doc, or an endo based doc and a restorative based doc. So yeah, amen, brother. Really, really well said. I know you guys are super busy. I don't want to take up, I could talk to you guys all day because I think we think very similarly, and I just love learning from you guys. I guess I'll ask, one final question I'm just really curious about. Vision. Who decides? Now I know Doug has a ton of humility, and he probably is going to answer this question with, "Well, we openly talk about it." But what is the vision here? Like, are you guys clearly on the same page of, okay, we're going to stay at 3 locations and we're just going to try to become more efficient? Or is it like we have a growth aspiration to grow at X rate year over year? Or is there even any clarity on that?
Yeah, that's a great question. A while ago we did some stuff with EOS and sort of training, having our vision mapped out, and it was to grow to 3 to 5 locations in the Cincinnati area, kind of within 45 minutes of downtown Cincinnati, and it's kind of evolved a little bit over time, but right now we're kind of like content with where we're at right at the moment. And so, yes, we're kind of more growing from internally is what we're trying to do, and not necessarily open more practices at the moment. So I think in the future we will to get to maybe the 4 or 5 practices. But really, the most important thing is the profitability of everything. We don't have like a growth a goal just to grow just because of to have more locations, but we want to maintain the profitability and also just the happiness of everybody around. Like the team and the culture is very important to us too. So we're kind of like just content where we are and waiting for the next opportunity to present itself. That's kind of how I would describe the vision. But we're not trying to force anything to happen just to get to a certain number. So I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, when you have these vision conversations, either with each other or in your own head, understanding that you guys are so close, both at work and outside of work, is there ever situations in regards to growth or in regards to vision where you clearly are on different sides? And is it a productive conversation to kind of work through it? Or is it like, let's just agree to not, let's just agree that we disagree here? Or is it more so Phil just saying, Doug's the captain, whatever my marching orders are, like, let's do it. So, and you know what I mean? I mean, I know that Doug, I know you treat Phil like as an equal and as a partner. But I'm just curious if there's ever any friction because Phil wants to take things in one direction and you don't, or vice versa.
Yeah, I think that's something, and I was going to speak to this with the last prompt as well. Like, I'm a firm believer of one executive chef in the kitchen, one visionary that's really casting it. And that's something that I need to approach with humility, that if I have more gas in the tank than there is vision in a moment, I happen to be aligned with Doug right now, but if I'm not and I'm chomping at the bit, I just have to find that elsewhere. Not everything lives or dies by the business. I'm also a firm believer of have as much that you're excited about at home and in your personal life that you're pursuing that you do at work. And so that's a toggle that I can go, if I have more gas in the tank, I'm going to develop and love on my kids or invest in my marriage or my faith in a way that will have results for my life as a whole. So that's how I, deal with that. But at the same time, I want to make sure that I'm ready for when Doug does cast vision. I say, yeah, let's go. Because we do have drawings for this Blue Ash office. And I told the architect, thanks for the time. It's going to collect some dust. And then we do have ideas of let's hire a dentist right away for Blue Ash. And we might be rethinking that strategy. I need to be ready, chomping at the bit for the next task that needs to be done, the growth and the development. But I think it's really important that I kind of submit to the leadership, or I take a back seat to the visionary leadership that Doug provides. And I think that level of respect is what will work best in an organization like ours.
Yeah.
Man, I love that answer, Phil. I mean, almost to the point where if I didn't like you so much, Doug, I would be trying to recruit Phil to relocate and come to upstate New York and come work with us.
Yeah.
I'll come visit, but I don't know, man. Doug set me up pretty well.
Winters are very cold up there, by the way. So.
Colder than here? Yeah. Okay. As long as they have direct flight to Florida. Okay.
All right, guys. Man, I just love the information, love the wisdom that you guys are sharing with me and selfishly, and that will eventually be shared with our listeners. So I so appreciate your time, and keep doing what you're doing. You're obviously wildly successful, and you keep playing off of each other in a very, very healthy and productive way. And I just love that for you guys. So thank you for the time. And I really appreciate you being so open and honest and vulnerable with me and with the listeners.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for having us. An honor to be on your podcast. You've done a lot for us over the years, and that we're very, very grateful for. So anything we can do to help each other, I'm more than happy. If any of your listeners have any, would be interested in reaching out to me, I mean, my email is doug@moorheaddentistry.com. So it's MOOREHEAD dentistry.com, and Phil is Phil@moorheaddentistry.com. So,
One L.
Yeah. Yeah. So
there's always that Phil thing. One or two L's. Yeah.
Can I email you questions?
Yeah, definitely. We'll even FaceTime with you if you want.
Wow. All right. I get the VIP treatment.
It's always a pleasure, Jason. I love connecting with you, and we always have a great time.
No doubt. All right, guys. Thanks again. Talk to you soon.
All right.
See you later.
Bye.
Thank you. That wraps up another episode of the Dental Lighthouse podcast. You have a choice today. Choose to be a lighthouse. Lighthouses are powerful and steadfast. They are beacons of light for others to reference when life gets turbulent. Go out into the world today and become a lighthouse for someone. Give more than you get. True joy comes from serving others. Start today. I'm Jason Tenori, your host. Thank you for listening to the Dental Lighthouse podcast. For more information, podcast show notes, or links to anything that we have discussed today, please check out our website, thedentallighthouse.com. We would love to hear from you. If you would like to get on the show, please email us at podcast@thedentallighthouse.com.